Hello, I'm Doug and this is the Taste and Sensibility channel, and we are at episode number 3 of Stinky Cheeses, a series about washed-rind cheeses that end up smelling horrible. It's been described as like body odor, but can be very intense and actually cause some sort of digestive upset as part of your response in smelling. But today's cheese is not one of those that's very strong, with a very strong aroma, but it should be very tasty. This is called Red Hawk from Cowgirl Creamery in Northern California. So we're gonna smell and taste and put it on crackers and pair it with all these other things over here. So that's what's on the agenda today. But before I cut into this thing and make a mess, let me get you to like the video. Leave comments and questions down below, share it with friends, and subscribe to the channel. Click on that bell and you'll get notified every time a new video comes out. So, this was purchased at Whole Foods for, oh wow, it was $40 a pound, and this is about half a pound. And this is the normal wheel size for these individuals. And I let it warm up to room temperature, but now I'm trying to get the back label off so that I can unwrap in some way. It is very soft inside, I can tell. This is going to yield easily once I get it open. Yeah, now we're making progress. Ooh, there is an aroma! And it is not fresh and pretty. Wow, okay. We'll just dump it. There. So the washed-rind cheeses tend to have some bright orange colors on the outside because of the bacterium that grows. I think they wash it with brine, which either has a culture of the Brevibacteria linens culture in that brine, or it kills off everything else, and that's the bacterium that the only one that stays behind that can survive the briny culture. So there's an orange cast to it, but it's also like a triple creme brie. So I think Cowgirl Creamery does something that's like a triple creme. They might call it Mount Tam. I may have done that one. But so this could have had some white. I do see some white on the rind. So it's like a brie in that sense. So it has a ripening life, has a cycle, has a, oh wow, look how creamy that is. I don't know if I'm going to get to cut it again. Okay, I guess this is my first taste. It looks like butter. It's still got a little bit of a chill on it, but it's not very cold. Ooh, tastes like butter. Tastes salty. It's okay. It's a little tart. Okay, I think I'm done with that knife, but I do want to do one more cut, so I'm only working with part of it. So, wow, that's just crazy. Okay, I'm going to try to dump this over onto a good surface and then not mess with that anymore. So there is an aroma that is like body odor. It's a big component of it. There's other smells in there. Maybe cruciferous vegetables, cooked broccoli or cauliflower. Maybe something a little oniony. Let me get a little bit more. Yeah, this strikes me as pretty salty. A lot of salt in here. The texture is like room temperature butter. So I'll see how more of it tastes. Wow. So I think this cheese has gone all the way to the end game, because I am not seeing a little cakey center. The rind usually causes this kind of texture from the rind growing in, so it's a little cakey like cheesecake. Maybe in the center as that thing grows towards the center. But I think this one's totally taken over with that creamy, almost spoonable texture on the inside. And it was salty, it was buttery, and there's a tang to it. You can tell there's some acid in there, some tartness. And the finish is slightly peppery, like maybe white pepper. So I'm going to take another piece. I'm going to put it on something milder, like a rice cracker. This first one was a multi-grain cracker with no wheat in it. Here's another one with no wheat. And I don't know how much flavor it has, or if the cracker will even get noticed. But there we go with a rice cracker with some of the Red Hawk from Cowgirl Creamery. That was a good neutral base for the cheese, which is all flavor and a bunch of texture. So I'm liking the cheese, but it might not be for everybody. It's got that tang is pretty strong, and I think I'm used to the aroma now. It's not really sticking out at me. Let me do a little cleanse here, even though I'm not moving away from it. Wanted to point out the flavor spectrum in Liz Thorpe's book, The Book of Cheese, which is focused in the chapter that we're doing. She calls it the Tallegio Gateway, and we did Tallegio in episode number 1. This is cheese right down here with a label on it that says Tallegio. But she shows a scale of intense flavors, which are mild at this end and growing more intense as you go across this way. And then availability, which is like lots of grocery stores and lots of shops are going to have it down here. But as you go up here, going more and more towards a specialty cheese shop. So this Red Hawk is right here towards the mild end of the scale. So we've done Tallegio, we've done Quadrella di Bufala, and now Red Hawk is the next one in intensity. Next will be Brick. I have an Oma, which is over here. And I have some Epoise. I also have Limburger, but I don't know if I'm brave enough to eat it again. So I always just want to do one set of steps through the flavor spectrum quickly, and then I'll just do random things after that. But next couple of videos are going to be going up the flavor scale. And Cowgirl Creamery is one of the recommended cheeses in this chapter. So I'm calling them stinky cheeses, to not use her terminology, but these are some of the stinkiest cheeses in this group, in this family. Limburger, Brick cheese, Grayson, Epoise are known for their aromas. Now, I'm going to get a garlic breadstick and dip that into the buttery mass that is Red Hawk. So there's a little bit of rind and mostly the interior. Okay, different kind of breadiness, and the garlic comes through, and there's almost a garlickiness from the cheese, that cruciferous part with some sulfury notes. Maybe you can suggest garlic. Okay, I'm liking that. I'm going to try this bland rye cracker. And a bit of the Red Hawk with quite a bit of rind here. Quite a bit on the bottom. Some from the top also. So, barely salted rye sourdough cracker with a bit more of the Red Hawk on it. So let's see how this goes. Butter, butter, butter is the texture. Half the flavor seems like butter. It didn't strike me as super salty or even sulfury. This moderated the flavors quite a bit. I don't know how. There's hardly anything in it. Just rye and water maybe. The texture is just decadent. And the flavor is pretty good. It is a young cheese that has been fully ripened by that outer organism. Ooh, I think it's the brie organism, Penicillium candidum, that's causing the texture to be like this, but some of the flavors and aromas definitely coming from that orange bacterial growth on the outside. Ooh. Okay, going to another fairly neutral cracker. It's a water cracker. This is blending with all the crackers very well. Something different pops out a little bit more with each one. So slightly different experiences. So, water cracker. It tastes and feels like you just smeared butter over the cracker and popped it in your mouth. A bit of saltiness now at the end. Wow. Yeah, the blander crackers really hide some of the funkier things that people might object to. So if there's enough butter cracker in your tasting, this is a pretty nice cheese. So I've only got one more cracker I can do before I move on over here to fruits and nuts and pickles. So this is a wonderful texture. It doesn't fight you at all. No resistance to put it in on the cracker. So some sort of weedy grain thing. Again, the super fatty mouthfeel from the triple creme type of cheese. But the cracker, the graininess of the cracker really stood out and interacted with the cheese. And still did not get really funky flavors there, even with quite a bit of cheese on it. So I'm liking this. It's very interesting. The more stuff you have with it, the less funky it gets. So I don't know exactly what to do here other than grab a piece of pear. It's a fresh Anjou pear. It's not at the peak of ripeness. It's got another day or two to go. And it's not super juicy, but it is ripe tasting and sweet. So let me get a little more on one other surface there. So good smear of the cheese on this fresh pear. Wow. The BO notes, the body odor notes really stood out on that one. Aroma inside my oral nasal cavity, and it didn't really go with the pear. It's not a good combination. They were separate things, and one of them was body odor. Okay, so maybe I'm learning something here. I'm going to, wow, falls off the knife. It runs, it flows. I'm going to put some on a piece of fresh kiwi, which is very ripe and super juicy and at its peak of ripeness and sweetness, I think. So a little bit of cheese on fresh kiwi. Wow. Nice contrast, but I'm not sure that is a good pairing either. Wow. So I like the contrast, fruitiness versus the saltiness, but the funky things maybe were a bit of a clash. Not a loud clash, not a strong clash, but some kind of clash. I'm going to move to dried blueberries next. And probably use a little less cheese. Yeah, I guess not. I want to get at least 3 or 4 dried blueberries on these. Dried blueberries tend to be successful with most cheeses I've had. So let's see how this goes. Okay, the cracker moderated some of the flavors. And then the fruitiness of the blueberry, the concentrated flavors of the blueberry was a really good complement to the salty, buttery cheese. So it's the texture contrast and a flavor contrast. That one worked. Probably because the cracker was there. So I'm afraid to go to mango. Partly because they're hard to hold, and partly because I think it might be a clash. So fresh mango. I'm just going to pop it in before I drop it. Didn't clash, didn't really necessarily go. I like the fruitiness of it, I like the sweetness of the fruit, and the juiciness of the fruit. But it was like, here's an oil, here's a sweet watery mixture, and then there's a butter mixture over on the other side, and they didn't really mix all that much. But the flavor sort of went, it was more of a texture clash. And I am going to go with pickles next. Don't know if I should try with a cracker. I just want to see how the tartness of the pickle, the vinegar and the pickle goes with this cheese. So these are spicy bread and butter pickles. So there's a whole pickle, a cracker, and a good wad of the cheese. See if that's an interesting combination. Wow. Wow. Complicated. Great texture contrast, but it tasted like different kinds of not fresh fish. The cheese is funky. The pickle was not a good compliment. Not the acid, only the crispness of the pickle was helpful. But all the flavors made this tied up knot of old fishiness. No. Okay. Well, this is not a good pairing item. From what I'm trying, maybe I tried totally the wrong things. I'm going to dip some of the cheese into a little pile of sunflower seeds and pick up a few and see if the sunflower seed nuttiness goes with this cheese. So here goes. I think garlic breadstick too. Yeah, I think the nuttiness goes. And the nuts are salted, which makes the cheese even more salty. So that was a good combination. It worked. It worked on the breadstick. It might work on other types of dipping things that you can dip in and pick up some sunflower seeds. So I'm not mad about that one at all. This is an interesting cheese. It does not have a cakey center that I can tell. This has been totally softened, totally ripened. It's gone all the way to its end of life here. So I will eat this up in the next couple days if I don't finish it off now. Too much fat. I'll spread it out. So Cowgirl Creamery is making a pretty good cheese here. Which might not be for everybody, but it will be for people who get into washed-rind cheeses and like the triple cream fat treatment. So I think that's about all for this episode. Next, we're coming up on brick cheese, which is a U.S. invention and very interesting. So come back for that, and cheers.